Okay, I'm going to mention some differences and maybe some problems some people are having with terminal mode, using D-Star in particular. And even though there is that option for them for terminal mode, they buy a hotspot device because too complicated, it may seem like, or they're having some sort of connection issues, or maybe they're really active into the hobby and want a more seamless approach. Makes sense. However, there are people like myself not interested in hotspot. In fact, a good quality hotspot device is more expensive than the ICOM IC-2730 Black Edition that I bought. And in some cases, even more expensive for me, cheaper for me to buy an ID-5100. So, hotspots, they're very simple devices, and yet they're so pricey. I guess the volume is not there, and which is probably why. I find D-Star, DMR, Fusion, whatever mode, and any digital mode is interesting and fun. And it certainly does satisfy the curiosity. However, I can see from my type of radio use that I do, I can see myself not really using D-Star. Excuse me. Not using D-Star as a main operation. I could see digital voice, simplex, talking directly to other stations, because there is some benefit to digital voice. But actually connecting to the internet and talking all over the world, if you're a DXer or something like that, yeah, it might be of interest, but it's not my area of interest. I've covered basically over the many decades every aspect of amateur radio. And I find that I'm more of an experimental, bit of rag chewing and practical use of radios. Communication with people I want to communicate with on a regular basis. So if you're more or less in the same category as me, then terminal mode might be more than adequate. So what I'm going to do is explain some of the things that might be causing people difficulty in using terminal mode. And there are applications where you can streamline your effort, like Doozy, for example, Blue DV, and a few other stuff. Even the ICOM software, which is what I'm going to show because it's free. And it runs on all the Mac devices and Windows and Androids and so forth. Doozy, lovely program. Unfortunately, it's strictly with Windows. I think with Blue DV that's currently available, I think it's GMR or Fusion only. Anyways, if I had D-Star, it might have been great. Okay, let me zoom in first of all on the ICOM 705 and show you the issues that might be causing difficulties. Okay, the ICOM 705 has Wi-Fi. It does have Bluetooth, but for terminal mode, it will use Wi-Fi, so you can connect to your local Wi-Fi network in your home. If you have a router, normally in most cases, the configuration ports, the UDP, for example, will get set. However, sometimes you may have to go and do it yourself. There are 3 ports, 5001 to 5003, and I think 40,000 or 4,000 ports. The settings are there in setting up your Wi-Fi. So that's the first thing you want to be sure it's open and it's working and you got port forwarding or triggering turned on. Now, what's different with the 705 over the ID-52, it has its own IP domain setting. The ID-52 does not, which is why you have to use a program. With the ICOM 705, you don't need a program. All you need is a Wi-Fi connection to the internet. One of the first things you have to do, let me go into settings, and my station, my call sign. You gotta enter your call sign, whether it's whatever length, it doesn't matter. Do not put no space, do not put no letters after your call sign. The way you see it here, the /705 is optional. You can leave it blank or you can put it in. You can, for example, I can use my name, first name, Alex, A-L-E-X. You have room for 4 characters, okay? Do not add an access point character in my call sign. A lot of people end up doing that, and as I think one of the results is that people hear you, but you can't hear them. Okay? So that's not where you do it. And if you want, you can put a message in there and you could give that option to turn it on. Just to be sure that your spelling is correct on your call sign. Sometimes you hit a Y and some other character shows up. It's a pretty good touch screen when it comes to edit. It's pretty good. You can't complain. Okay, let's go back. And I'm just gonna, let me just exit out, normal mode. Okay, now I'm in normal mode. Let's go back in. You have Internet Gateway. This is where you would put the IP domain name. It would be nice if they had several memories for this category. Something that could happen, hopefully, if there's enough pressure on ICOM to do so. Because every time you change Reflector, you have to re-enter the URL number. On the ICOM 5200, there's an advantage because I can use a copy and paste. Copy from a list and paste it. I can copy from a different Apple device and paste it in a different Apple device. Unfortunately, you don't have that option. It's important the URL spelling is correct. Okay? Now, this is the only place where you use an access point. Your call sign, if your call sign is short, let's say 5 characters, not 6, I believe you have to put a double space and then the access point character that you set up when you registered with your with D-Star. And if you have more than one radio, you will need to create more than one access point character. Myself, I got the last 4 characters of the alphabet, XYZ. So that is the only place where you would enter the access point character. Nowhere else. If you do, you may have difficulty being heard, or some other weird things could be happening. I suspect probably this is where some of the mistakes it's made is they enter this information in the call sign, not in the terminal node. It has to say terminal AP call sign. That's the only place. Okay, that's important. Global UDP hole punch, I leave it on all the time. It may work, may not work, depending on your system, but it seems to be working for me. Though I think I had to initially set up the 4000 port on my router. And I think somewhere along the line, I think my 5003 was disabled. Not sure how that happened, but I was experimenting, so it's possible. So it's always good to check if you're having issues. Be sure things can change even though you set it properly in the beginning. Okay? Allow call sign access point disabled. You know, if there's more than one ham radio license in a household, you can then share your equipment, but they'll have their own call sign. Just like my call, there's several entries that you can put in different call signs. So you have another ham operator in a home, and they're using the same equipment, then they can have their own setup. And I believe they can do that even with the Wi-Fi setup and so forth. Okay? So basically you can leave that. Now, you go into terminal mode. When you go into terminal mode, it may not be properly yet set up. The to address. The from address should be correct if you did everything right. This is basically how it will look. If you used access point Z, then you'll see a Z after the call sign. But the to could be, for example, here, let me just see what happens. See, all these other repeaters, no, it won't work. Okay. First of all, I don't have no repeaters locally to access it this way if I was using DR mode. And the IP domain address would not be correct. But it's a handy feature for another feature that's available. It's called repeater money. Okay, if you turn on, you can listen to thousands of call signs that's in the list if they're on, but you can't transmit, only listen. That's another feature. Just ignore it for now. Okay, we gotta correct the to. You gotta scroll down to the bottom where it says direct input. There's two ways of putting it in. I think, from my experience, either one would work. However, I notice more common, you have the /, the reflector ID, XLX197B. B would be the usually UHF. A, I think it's VHF, and there's other letters for different 900 and 1.2 gig repeater set. So this address you have to verify. You go online, do a search of the reflector you're interested in. If they usually have an online site, you can go in there and you can copy the IP domain name and also get the correct characters. If, for example, if I was to replace that B with a D and connect, it will look like I'm connected, and it will look like everybody could be heard and I could hear, but there's no D repeater. So I guess the only time someone can hear you if they also connected to the D mode, if you want to call it. So you have to be sure that you selected the right port, I guess. Okay. Now /, let's set B. Now you notice there's no space between the B's because of the /. Let me just scroll this around, and I'm just going to clear this and then scroll this and put a space. Oops. I guess I accidentally hit. Okay, let's try this again. And then a space and a B. This has worked for me. If I didn't have a space between the 7 and a B, no one is able to hear me. So it looks like both format is supported, and judging from what I see when I look on the computer and the site, it automatically corrects it to the right format, but it won't correct it if you don't have a space. So something to keep in mind. Okay, I'm just going to go back. Yes, I'm going to cancel that. So that's the one I want. Good, I enter. Now it's working. It's all set up. Now let's talk about some of the settings that you may want to consider. Okay, I just go on the settings. I'm going to go DV set and auto reply. I usually have it off. DV data transmit, I usually use push to talk. I'm not sure about this yet. I notice when people are talking, every once in a while their audio is garbled. It's almost like some digital data is going over them. And so until I can verify that in testing, it could be another source. I leave it to push to talk so that it doesn't automatically send while I'm listening, for example. I need to find out what the rules are and the automatic send when it sends it. And I'm assuming if it doesn't hear no activity, then it would send it, right? But I'm not sure. Okay. I have fast data and GPS turned on. I like it. The TX delay push to talk off. This allows my receiver to recover immediately after I transmit. So someone breaking in or it will eliminate, for example, the need of listening to 2 beeps. And some set up, if you transmit only after 1 beep, your audio doesn't go through. So you need to hear the 2 beeps if that's the way it's working on the system. I know on the UHF side, working into the Wi-Fi, not Wi-Fi, but the internet, the D-Star, there is 2 beeps. And if I had this set at 2 seconds, I probably only would hear the 1 beep. So you have to be careful of that. If you have it off, wait for 2 beeps. If you find that irritating, well, then put the 2 seconds delay on. You may miss some data in between. Okay, off it goes. Digital monitor, I haven't played with that yet. Digital repeat set, I have not played with that yet. DV auto detect. When you're scanning in your memory and you have DV and FM memories in there, and there's a noise that appears on one of the frequencies, you'll find it's switching from DV to FM, DV to FM, and it's irritating. So I turn it off. Okay, I think that's it in here. Oh yes, be sure to have break off when you don't need it. Emergency, definitely have it off. Never use it unless it's a real emergency. Because if you turn it on, every radio that's on the network will get beeped. If it's at 100%, you can imagine how loud it is. So please be careful there. Accidents can happen. You won't be very popular for long. Let's go to display. Okay. Okay, am I recording? Yeah, okay. I'm just looking to see. I have the RX position display on for 10 seconds. You can change it to 15, 5. It depends how quick you are to turn your head to see what's on the screen, I guess. I don't know. But that's something you have to play with. And the display is on, the indicator I turned on. Reply position I turned on. The rest, okay, doesn't matter. Okay. Okay, there is one more area, connectors. You have to be sure your CIV transceiver is on. Okay, that's one area. And I have AF, set for AF, okay, which is, I think, default. AF, which I believe is default. Mod input. This can change on you because you do have mic, USB, Wi-Fi, so forth. I use mic USB as a default, especially if you're using a radio for FT8, for example. You know, not just D-Star. These are important settings. Okay, I think that basically covers the essentials there for terminal mode on the 705. Now I'm going to switch over to the ICOM ID-52. I have the 52 plus anniversary. However, I think the concept is the same, going back several generations of radios, I think. I don't have the other one, so I can't say for certainty, but the little bit that I see, it's pretty close. Okay, let's switch over. Oh, I forgot one more thing. Notice at the bottom I have the call sign. CQ is telling me that my UR call is CQ, 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 and that RPT1 is set for B, and RPT2 is set for gate. And I got this programmed, in this case, memory 16. If I go to 17, it's telling me that I have this set up for an echo command. And it would be in the URL, it would have 7 spaces and an I. I'm going to give... Oh, I'll turn down the volume here. I'm going to talk about that towards the end of the video. This is just to remind me not to forget to do so. Because I've been asked how I'm programming this, and I'll show it on the ICOM software and even on my own. It's basically the same, but once you have the concept, it's no problem to program. You could even program this in the radio itself. I like the ICOM 52 for programming on the radio because it's quicker and less convoluting. Whatever. Okay, let's get back to what I said I was going to do. In the ID-52, it does not have its own IP domain setting. Too bad. It would have been nice. Then it would eliminate the need of a piece of software. Now, first thing you should do, or before I do that, again, you will not enter no access point character on the radio. Nowhere. If you do, you're going to have problems. Okay, let me zoom in on the ID-52. We'll talk about the settings. First thing you should do before you fire up even your software, you go to menu, and we're going to go to gateway. Oops, I guess I can touch screen that. There you go, not a touch screen. Okay. I go to DV connection, Bluetooth. If you're using Doozy, for example, then you have to select USB. The RSMS IC-703I uses Bluetooth. So you have to be sure Bluetooth is on. Okay? And you need to, I'm going to get out of terminal mode. It won't work if I connect using the software because the radio needs to be in terminal mode. Okay? So I need to go back to gateway, turn on terminal mode. Let me hit stop. I'm just going to see. I have to change the settings here. Hold on. Okay, this is the RSMS3i. It's on my iPad. It does work on my MacBook Pro. And I think now the iPhone 12. I had it working, but it was kind of, erratic a little bit. But seeing the last update there, the latest Sequoia, seemed to be on a MacBook more stable too. So this is the Intel version. I think it has iOS 17 something. I use it all the time. It's solid. It's solid. It works great. Okay, just give you a quick rundown how to use it. Initially, this will be empty. So you'll have to do a scan. There's a little blue word that says scan on top. Scan, select, pair. Once that's done, you can go back up. I gotta use my finger, I can't use this. And then, before you do the connection, you need to program your gateway repeater server IP domain. This information is built into the 705, but not so with the 52. If you have a little text file, notebook, stickies or whatever, you can paste a whole bunch of IP domain address along with their reflector information that you may need. Then this is a matter of doing a copy and a paste. With a Mac, I can have this on my laptop and copy it on my laptop and paste it into my iPads, because the copy and paste is available on all my networked equipment. So whichever way is quicker. And be sure the spelling is correct. If you got some of that characters in front like HTTP and /:, eliminate that. It won't work with it. Then you hit OK. This is the only place where you will use an access point character. I think that's the proper term for it. AP, access point, call sign. Why not? Of course, I'm assuming you're registered on D-Star, and I'm assuming that you've gone into your settings there and added a couple access points. If you have more than one radio, then you probably want to create 2 or 3, depending on how many radios you have. I have the last 4 of the alphabet. It's kind of nice. It lets me know when I'm checking on the web or whatever, which device is connected, especially if you don't have the text information or you use just a name and not a radio ID or something. So yeah, a lot of options. So your call sign, space, and a Z. And if I recall correctly, if you have a 5-letter character, not 6, you may have to put 2 spaces. You may have to put 2 spaces. I know you gotta do it somewhere. I'm not sure. I think this might be the area. I don't have a 5-space character. I probably could qualify. I do qualify to get one if I want to, but I'm happy with what I have. Okay. I hit OK. Gateway type global, it's the same. UDP hole punch, I put it on. Allow call sign, I guess same scenario if there's more than one ham in the house and you're sharing equipment. Screen timeout enabled. Yeah, you can have the screen not go black on you if you want, but I find that you can go to sleep and it still works. So once you got all that and your ID-52 Plus is all set up, you're in terminal mode, then you hit start. And I think I got this. Okay, we missed that. It would show up here and say iPad connected, but the screen was black before I brought her up. And as you can see, stop is showing. That means I'm connected. And here at the bottom is where you get the information to let you know if you got a problem. VA6 AOR monitoring. There you go. And if there's a failure, it will tell me failure, it will tell me error. And interesting thing, other people talking, that information will also show up. And then you can see the way it's set up. I wasn't expecting this, but RPT1 is the gateway. So, yeah. There you go. It fills in automatically. Okay. Thought I tried to do it by hand holding the camera, but it was too shaky. You wouldn't be happy with it. So I'll just replace that with this. Okay, this bit of information I'm trying to figure out. Can you listen to both radios if both are on terminal mode? I suspect no. And I need to kind of verify that a little bit. The little bit of testing I've done tells me no. But yet, I can talk on either one. If you need to test, the only way is that I have one radio on a UHF side, the DV mode, transmitting to a linked repeater, to the one that the other radio is linked to. And when you transmit on the reflector side, your audio will go through to the UHF and vice versa. That is not a problem. That happens. You just got to be careful to have your volume turned down. Otherwise, you might end up with a bit of feedback. And be aware that there is propagation delay. You start talking, 1 second later, it starts appearing on the other radio, more or less. And this is where the 2 beeps are required. On the UHF side, I need to hear 2 beeps. If I only listen to 1 beep, my audio doesn't go through. So, and the settings, basically the same as the 705. You need to decide what you want to see on your screen. And, I usually have the brake and emergency all turned off. I usually like to have my push to talk with no delay so my receiver comes on instantly. My position, I like to have it off by default until I know for a certainty whether it's the auto mode, what the timing is, or when it decides to send data, I'm not sure. I'm just thinking it may cause some garble, some dropped syllables when a person is talking. It could be something else that's doing it. Maybe they're weak into the repeater or the link that they're in, or there's a problem with Wi-Fi. So it's something yet to be determined. Again, if you have experience, please make a comment so that I would know and what your conclusions were, and plus others can also benefit from this pool of knowledge in the comments. That would be appreciated. Okay, I'm just going to do one more last piece, and that's to do with the programming, the memory channels. Okay, I'm just going to use my ID-52 to load the memories, do a clone read, I guess they call it. So here is the CS-52. As you can see, I have a bunch of different ones here. I'm surprised people are not using the CS52 Plus. I like it way better than the RT system. I have video of comparing the RT system on the Mac there and versus the ICOM software. I would fire up this before I would use the RT system. I just find it's kind of buggy. But anyways, Java for you, I guess. Okay, I'm just doing a read. And I'm gonna go and select memory. And I'm gonna select DV gateway. There you go. Let me zoom in on this. Okay. And just turn this on. If you're trying to read this, do it on a computer. On a TV screen, the resolution's not there. It's going to look unreadable. Okay. Okay, typically, I have the call signs of 45, there's a 0 channel. So I have the call sign, and the first memory, I have the CQ, B, and G, which is telling me that your call sign is going to have 4, 6, 3 CQs, right? And then RPT1 would be the call sign of the station plus the port that it's going to use, or, A usually for VHF, B for UHF, C could be into the 900 megahertz or somewhere else. There is a standard. Most people, I think, follow it. Okay. So these are the more popular repeaters and that I probably will come across. So you could create a group. In my case, it's called DV Gateway. And if you notice, under CQ, there's a E, an I, and a U. This is the only thing you need to change. If you want to hear your own voice, what it sounds like, put 7 spaces and then type in the E. If you put 2 spaces in the E, the program will automatically put it in its place, automatically add those extra spaces. Again, if you want to find out the repeater is linked, and then U if you want to unlink it. Now let me go to DV reflectors. I keep thinking I'm on my iPhone or iPad. Okay, there we go. Now, I have one repeater. The one I use locally, there's only one I have access to. Oh, another thing I should mention, if you notice, I have skip for E, I, and U. So if I'm scanning, I don't want it to accidentally stop, for example, on an E, and then I'm replying to someone, and everything I say gets played back. So put a skip in there, or just have it in one place. So all this is skipped. So if I'm scanning, it will not stop when there's activity on any of these. Again, the information I have the repeater, in this case is all RPT. I have the reflector at XLX, and then 196. Then I have the port, the B, the C, whatever it is, the D. And then an L, which tells me it's a link. So without no spaces, you put in, for example, XLX196B and L. If you don't put the L, you will not get linked. And of course, RPT1, you have the B, and the RP2, you have the G. So RP2 2 is, oh geez, by the looks of it. Let me see if I can zoom in a little bit better in case you want to see more details. Oops. Hold on. Okay. It's hard to say. If you're watching on the computer, it will work okay. So that's the same setup I have for the 705. Exactly the same thing. In fact, both my 705 and 52 are basically the same, with a few exceptions, because 705 is an HF radio. It doesn't do 2 meters and 70 centimeters, so those areas will not. It does do 2 meters, 70 centimeters. It's the 52 that doesn't. So, but basically, that's it. And even the ICOM 2700 basically has most of my memories the same, except it doesn't have any DV memories. It makes it easier when you're using different radios. Where's that channel? Where's that memory? You get into the habit of it being in one place all the time, and if you are consistent with all your radios. I'm still toying with the ID-5100. My 2730 is basically going to be designated as a crossband repeat. If I don't decide on the 5100, then it'll also be my mobile radio. There's not that many D-Star repeaters, so it won't have a benefit for me as much. And again, hotspot, I don't need it. I prefer to take the $600 that you spend on buying a hotspot, even more, depending where you're buying it from, and buy a new radio. Or maybe an accessory, like a tuner or something like that. So, unless you have money to throw away, fine. Go for it. If it doesn't matter. I notice over the years, these accessories, they seem to lose its value, or they no longer work, they're not viable. And then I hear rumors a lot of the programs that are out there are no longer supported. So you end up with software and hardware that's no longer of any value. In fact, I have some from 20 years ago. Okay, so I avoid that. Oh, let me just zoom back out. There we go. Okay, that's about it. I think I didn't forget anything. I apologize if I do. I'm not really using a script. I just have some basic points I want to talk about. If you have any questions, feel free to ask. Sometimes I may have forgotten something to mention. Your comments would be appreciated. It lets me know that it's benefiting someone. If I'm not getting no comments, not even an okay, then I start to wonder, well, maybe my site is of no value and might as well shut it down. So, if you haven't subscribed, please subscribe. Thumbs up would also be appreciated, and comments would be appreciated. Your comments are held in the queue until I get a chance to read it, and then it gets posted if it's appropriate there for everyone else. Take care. Have a nice day. Until next time. I have more videos yet to come. It's going to be a bit of a mix of other stuff. Until next time. Take care. I forgot something else. Crazy. I should write these things down. I did mention that I was going to show it on my software, the FileMaker, but when I think about it, I've had videos on it that shows it. What I like about my database, it makes it possible for me to have a very similar setup on any radio. Whether it's my TID radios, H388, my ID-52, my 705, my 73, my 2730 Black Edition, and a few other older radios. All of it comes from a database. I have it set up. It saves it in the right format for each radio, and I then can import it in any of the ICOM software, or even the RT system, which I happen to have a copy for this 2730, which I really don't use, but it was interesting because it is an ICOM but a Mac version. I was curious to see how well it works. I did receive comments of other people having RT systems, and they also complained that it acts up regardless on what radio. So hopefully that issue will be fixed. For sure, take care. Nice day. Bye-bye.